Yay.
Ready?
We're ready.
You ready, Stephen?
It's already counted down.
Right, fantastic. Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, well, let's not try and beat around the bush. We're half an hour late. We've got a lovely guest with us today, Matthew or Matt. I don't know why I call you a full name, Matthew. We've got Matt from Man vs. Fat with us,
which is amazing. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. We had a few
technical problems.
Yeah.
So should we kick off with, as Matt's here, and we've obviously taken up half his day already. Matt, who are you, and what do you do?
It's like a game show.
Right, and hopefully I get all the answers right as well. But I'm Matt. I'm Associate Director of Marketing for Man vs. Fat, which is a very fancy title, which I quite like using these days. But essentially, I look after all of the marketing for our Man vs. Fat program, which is a national men's weight loss program. I've got a history of working in professional football before I was working at Man vs. Fat, and I'm a dad of one.
Hold on a minute, I did not know you've got...
I was going to, yeah.
Oh, you kept that quiet?
Yeah.
Professional football? Tell us about that.
I mean, you can see me on camera, so you know that I wasn't a professional footballer.
Okay.
I worked in the media department at Colchester United Football Club for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Still pretty cool, mate.
Yeah, it was decent, to be fair, and I had a lot of good times there. It's always interesting working behind the scenes in football and kind of seeing how it all unfolds.
Yeah, I'd like that.
I kind of met my wife sort of 7 years ago.
Was that through the football?
No, completely separate, but kind of soon became apparent that travelling to Hartlepool on a Saturday and then going to Cardiff on a Tuesday probably wasn't the best way to maintain a relationship. So,
so you got rid of the wife?
You decided to have a baby?
Yeah, just tie myself down in another way. It's absolutely fine.
So you
sorry, just quickly, look, you're cuddling. See that?
What is that?
Big Tottenham fan.
Oh,
see you cuddle my Tottenham
you'll
pillow.
grow out of it.
After 40 odd years, I'm actually 21 as Tottenham that have made me look 40 years old.
Love it. So you said you're father of one. Is that a new addition, or is it an older child?
So Martha's coming up to 20 months old now. So
I thought you were going to say 20.
Yeah, so did I then for a second.
No, sometimes she acts like she's 20, but yeah, she's certainly got a personality. But yeah, 20 months old.
Wow.
So yeah, the last 18 months or so has definitely been a bit of an adventure, kind of seeing the full range of parental responsibilities rather than just what people put on their social media highlights has definitely been an eye opener.
Oh God, and obviously trying to kind of juggle a job as well and all that kind of stuff, and being a bloke, obviously I know that you've you were saying to us kind of off air just a minute ago. Off air. Look at me, I think I'm like bloody Eamon Holmes or something, don't I? Saying off air just a minute
You're a
ago.
bit more like Richard Madeley than Eamon Holmes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, as long as you're not saying I'm more like Hugh Edwards or anything. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, ultimately, it is difficult, isn't it? It is really difficult. I know. Yes, sorry, that's what I was going to say. You've had the pleasure of going to one of the mantenatal classes, which obviously is fantastic. So and you're also coming up to that stage now, which I love because it's really weird that we do it. Soon you'll be able to say that your daughter's 2, won't you? You won't have to be counting in months anymore.
It feels like a big stage, and even in the last couple of months you can kind of see her edging towards that and kind of being a bit more I don't say self-sufficient is the right way to put it, but kind of a bit more capable in terms of just getting about the place and the first words are coming and personalities coming out and kind of seeing them become a person rather than someone who's wholly reliant on yourself.
She's nearly able, I'd imagine, to reach the fridge to grab the beer for the Saturday afternoon football. She's got to be close nearly.
Absolutely, yeah. I might be relying on her to pick my ACCAs this season because I certainly don't do too well myself when I choose them.
I've never done that before.
What's ACCAs?
Never. It's like a...
Pools?
No, it's a football thing.
Well, obviously.
You choose... It's a gambling thing. I don't really understand a whole lot. I hear it on Talk Sport.
What's
about
ACCAs
the ACCAs
then, Matt?
So an ACCA's an accumulator. So basically you pick say 5 or 6 matches, pick the team that's going to win, and then it accumulates a larger set of odds than if you were just choosing 1 or 2 games.
Nice. Okay.
My friend did that recently, Jules. He put like a couple of quid on.
Yeah. You win anything?
And he missed out. Like I think one of the teams lost. I think it was Jules, and he would have won like 200 quid, 300 quid or something if they had all come in. It's for like a pound bet or something, 50p bet. So if it works. Anyway, sorry, we're going completely off this. So how long have you been working for? This is how it goes. Sorry, Matt. How long have you been working for Van versus Fat for?
So I joined September 19, and then literally kind of worked for 4 or 5 months, and then obviously COVID hit. So as with a lot of industries and a lot of trades, that obviously had a big impact on ourselves because face-to-face sports kind of were put on hold, weren't they, during that period? Yeah. So we kind of had to navigate, is I guess one way of putting it, get through that period. And obviously kind of by the time that life started to return to normal, early 2021, I think in a perverse kind of way, COVID probably helped Man v Fat as a business. I think the ongoing... Yeah, it's a strange way to put it.
Put a bit of chunk on.
Kind of, you think, people put on weight because they weren't walking and going out to work. I think obesity was kind of very much a risk factor during COVID, so it probably focused people's minds a little bit in that sense. Yeah. And probably more than anything else, and I hope and think this will probably come out in our conversation about what Man v Fat's main kind of qualities is. But I think people miss friendships, people miss those conversations, they miss kind of being part of something. It's kind of quite a, you're forced to stay at home for various periods in COVID and kind of, not see people you might see regularly. And I think coming out the other side of that, people are like, I want to make some new friends and I want to build new friendship groups. And for a lot of people, we were kind of the vehicle to do that.
Yeah. Did you notice a real sort of upturn in clients sort of coming forward to Man vs Fat after COVID?
Yeah, that April to June 2021 period was, a real kind of spike for us, I guess. And it's kind of continued to make great strides since then. So we were fortunate. Obviously, a lot of other businesses couldn't make it through COVID, or it was kind of really damaging to what they did. But we managed to kind of ride that storm for that year and come out the other side a lot stronger, really.
So can you tell us exactly what, because I haven't sort of covered that earlier on. Go on, because you wanted to add a minute ago.
Well, yeah, no, all I wanted to, I mean, just for context as well, my understanding is, so Man vs Fat's been going for a while, hasn't it? How long has it been going for?
So Man v Fat as a weight loss program overall has been going since 2014.
And it was founded by someone, wasn't it? And then bought out by you guys. I think that's right, isn't it? And then So can you tell us that story? I mean, I'm guessing you probably know it, like that story, like about why it was founded and kind of, its roots to where it is today.
Yeah, sure. So 2014, Andrew Shanahan, who's a journalist and author, he was on his own personal weight loss journey and had been going to, say, some of the more traditional weight loss providers. But as anyone who's been to those as a guy will know, they're quite often quite female dominated in terms of the attendees. And he was increasingly finding that a lot of the sessions were kind of based on kind of female issues, I guess. And the one that kind of probably tipped him over the edge in the nicest sense was what being on your menstrual cycle does to your weight loss or weight gain. And this thing, well, this just isn't pertinent to me. It doesn't
not me.
So
doesn't affect me at all.
That inspired him to go his own way with it, really. And I think it originally started with an e-zine and a kind of back in the day of message boards and forums, kind of a forum for like-minded guys to kind of talk about their weight loss issues. And then kind of a couple of years later, he managed to get some funding from Solihull Council in the Midlands to pilot a men's weight loss program through physical activity, which is Man v Fat Football as it is now. And kind of it exploded in the nicest sense from there. And a couple of years later, he kind of, through sort of friends and connections he had, got involved with Thrive Tribe, which is the company that I also work for alongside Man v Fat, who kind of look after healthy lifestyle interventions. And they kind of helped him shape that, it sounds the wrong way, but clinical robustness of the program to make sure that people were losing weight in a safe way and kind of reliable dietary guidance and making sure that the guys were kind of given that support as well as the physical activity side of it. kind of.
There's always someone that wants to ruin it as well, isn't there? Like, and I say that, you can't just have a good game of football and lose a bit of weight. We've got to make sure it's clinically robust. But of course, I know that's the thing, isn't it? It gets you ready for growth of an organisation, I guess.
And equally, how you take it from that clinical robust situation to something that's palatable for men to hear and understand.
Yeah.
Because I think you guys know as well as I do that if you're told not to do something, you probably go and do it.
Oh God, yeah.
Twofold or threefold.
Yeah.
So and we don't prescribe particular diet plans. We don't prescribe ways of kind of losing weight. We kind of try to empower the men to do that, and kind of you can still go out on a Friday, Saturday with your mates, but maybe don't pick up a kebab on the way home, or don't drink 10 pints, drink 5. Kind of just moderate those behaviours and make those small changes that make a difference. Kind of Thrive Tribe became majority owners of Man Fat, I guess, back in 2019, which is when myself and a few others kind of came on board to help the growth of the program. And I think at that time there's maybe 50 or 60 Man Fat clubs. Wow. And we're now up to 149 at the time that we're speaking.
Wow.
But in September there's another 6 or 8 coming live. We've just launched Man Fat Soccer in the States, and we're about to launch Man Fat Rugby. So, from that weight loss class that he went to, talking about periods and menstrual cycles, it's kind of just born this beast that's kind of helped guys lose £700,000 worth of weight since we got started now.
And that's a stat. We Dave actually mentioned that before we came on. Like, that is epic. And so, and I'm guessing, are they all over the country then, the Man v Fat clubs?
Yeah, so there's 5 in Scotland, 6 in Wales, 1 in Northern Ireland, and then the rest are in England. Sorry, so sort of from Newcastle down to Truro and Western-super-Mare across to Norwich, are kind of anywhere with a half decent population centre. You'd like to think there's a Man v Fat club probably within 20-30 minutes of most guys in the UK.
You've got it boxed down here because you've got Exeter, Plymouth, and Truro, which are sort of the 3 closest. I don't know whether Barnstable would be a good one.
Yeah,
because where we're in Bude, sort of on the north coast of Cornwall. And Barnstable, I don't know if that's been considered, but sorry, it's going off.
Bude would be a good one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we did have we did have a club in North Devon briefly, and it was part of a quite expensive rollout at the start of 2022, and for whatever reason, the numbers didn't quite land at that time to kind of make it sustainable. But I think now we as an organisation, another 2.5 years on, I think we as a group of staff have learned a lot more about, 1, how to find the guys in the first place, and 2, how to deliver a program that kind of keeps them engaged and keeps them involved, because you make certain assumptions about what guys want and what they need, but each year that passes we kind of, I guess, fine tune the program to kind of make it more suitable for the men that we're working with.
And I like the idea of that, because I know a few people, sort of fellas, that have lost weight, and they wouldn't like to be sort of told this is what you need to do. You need to don't drink any booze, don't hardly have any takeaways. Like you said, you're trying to bring a community together, which you are bringing a community of fellas together, which I've learned over the last 5-10 years, which is so important to have a community of people around you that you get on with, and you're all in the same boat rowing in the same direction, and you're not preaching to them about this is what you need to eat. Actually, you're just bringing people together, and naturally, when you feel better about yourself, you don't actually want to eat shit.
No.
You don't want to drink too much. So I think it's really good. I think that I can see exactly why that works. It's actually, respectfully, it's very simple. It's a very simple idea. And I think it's brilliant. I noticed on the website, it's like a league of, it's not just the points, it's actually the weight loss of that team. You get more points for the amount of weight that's lost in the team.
That's right, yep. So each week when they come along to their sessions, they kind of jump on the scales before they go out onto the pitch, and it's kind of, I think it's for every 2 guys that lose weight, they get a bonus goal in their team. If you've been tracking your food and drink in a diary or an app during the course of the week, you can score bonus goals for every 3 guys that are doing that.
That's clever.
And there's bonus goals for 5 and 10% weight loss. So I think accountability is probably a good word to use. You don't want to be the one of the 10 in your squad that doesn't lose weight, that causes your team not to get the bonus goal, which causes them to lose the match. And they've got their WhatsApp groups that they kind of converse in during the course of the week and kind of stay in touch with each other, and kind of push each other on, I guess. And equally, you're not going to lose weight every week. Some of our guys do, and there's some remarkable streaks out there of guys who've lost weight for weeks and months on end. But if you do have that bad week, I think the fact you're then part of that group, they kind of pick you up, dust you off, and you kind of start again the next week. Whereas perhaps if you're trying to tackle that on your own,
it's not as
that
easy.
one bad week might turn into a bad month, and you're kind of back to where you started again.
Yeah. So like in Truro, when they meet up, do they play Exeter or do they play someone in Newcastle? How does it work with, or do they?
So in a standard Maori Fat club, it's normally either they play the other teams in their club location. So in most of our clubs, it's either 4, 6, or 8 teams in a league format. But we try and create them as clubs so that whilst you're tribal as a member of the Greens or the Whites or the Blues, you see yourself as a Maori Fat Truro or a Maori Fat Walsall player. So because what we do is every 3 seasons we redraft the teams to kind of balance it up again in terms of football ability and the different weights and sizes of the guys, so they feel like they're part of that collective locally rather than just a member of the blue team within that.
Do they ever play each other though in like championships or anything like that?
Yep. So we recently had our national tournament up at Lilleshall. There was 72 teams from different clubs around the country that came to participate against each other. A lot of the Maori Fat clubs have also now got 11-a-side teams for the guys that have lost a little bit more weight, and they play in a national 11-a-side format as well. So there are opportunities for them to play other local clubs, which clearly in places like Birmingham or Manchester or London is going to be easier to do than in Truro or Edinburgh, for argument's sake. But we try and encourage that. And for argument's sake, there's another tournament that comes up soon, which I think again kind of talks positively about how the Maori Fat community comes together. But there's a number of teams from Maori Fat clubs in and around the Liverpool area that are doing a tournament next weekend to raise money for the Southport victims' families, I guess.
Oh wow!
Because a lot of, obviously, again, kind of we're coming around to the same sort of topics, but a lot of the guys in the clubs are dads.
Yeah,
and they would have been in that situation in their community and wanted to kind of make a positive impression. And our best Maori Fat clubs, I guess, build that community beyond our core membership.
Yeah,
they go out and do stuff for food banks, or they go out and do charity tournaments, or they climb Snowdon together and things like that. And they kind of find ways to build those communities and friendship groups beyond their one night a week with us.
I love that. I love that. And I guess it's fantastic that not only are you bringing together blokes, and helping them to kind of achieve those kind of weight loss and health goals, but there's also an element. I imagine it's fantastic for mental health and being able to actually chat with fellow blokes that are likely to be in a similar situation without the stigma of being called a fatty or whatever other crap kind of language we use as blokes when we're in that situation again.
Yeah, it is something of a safe space in that sense, I guess. The guys will all know the reasons why they've found themselves needing to lose that weight in the first place, and there's definitely some common threads and themes in there. So in the right setup and right teams, there's definitely those conversations can be had, and actually we as an organisation will put various bits out, and the coaches who tend to be health and wellbeing experts will kind of put things in front of the guys as well. But it is that peer-to-peer support, and they can be quite brutal with each other as well. Like you're saying about people calling them fatties, they probably call each other fatties, but they know that's said in the right sense rather than trying to find down.
Context is always key, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And the friendships and the kind of support the guys provide for each other is incredible, really.
I bet you've got some real kind of stick out kind of success stories as well, haven't you? Like some kind of key success stories. Any of those you can share with us?
Yeah, and for a lot of guys, they just want to lose weight to feel better and be able to choose from a better range of clothes shops, and not just have to wear black t-shirts and baggy jeans because that's all they can get their hands on. But in amongst all of those stories, there's definitely some special ones in there. So the guy who's our current National Coach of the Year, Damo, who coaches Manby Fat Maidstone. He joined Manby Fat because his dad was suffering from kidney failure.
Wow.
And basically he was the only one in the family, I think, who had enough of a match to be able to donate a kidney. But the doctors basically said you need to lose a load of weight to be able to be safe to go under the knife to have the operation to donate the kidney. So, again, what better focus to kind of get your mindset on weight loss than to do that. And then there's a guy called Dan who plays in our Manby Fat Lincoln Club. He and his wife have been trying for a child for quite some time, and were basically both advised that they'd need to lose weight to be able to kind of start an IVF journey. But then I think by the fact they then both lost weight, and obviously he did it with ourselves, they were able to kind of conceive naturally. So
wow,
and it's like, so for all these stories of guys, everyone hopefully ends up feeling better for themselves for losing weight, but that equally there's in those two instances, life-saving and life-creating stories that kind of
brilliant,
give us a real impact.
The last one.
Those are the nice stories that we can kind of take beyond our community into the wider world and say that, we've got a great community and people have loads of fun, but there's some real impactful stuff there as well.
Yeah, it really is. So, like, if someone wanted to, like, join one of your clubs, how would they go about that?
So we've got our website, manbyfat.com/football, and that basically gives you the outline of the program and kind of how it all works and how we'll support guys to kind of make those right decisions, I guess. And then it will then tell them their closest Manby Fat club, and then there's quite a simple registration form from there to kind of get up and running. We operate on a 14-week season, but guys can join at any stage in that season. I would say 90% of guys join on their own or with a mate, so you don't need to suddenly find 7 or 8 or 9 other guys that you know to form a team yourself. You get put into a team that's already established, so there's definitely not that pressure. Kind of, I would hope, as the person in charge of marketing, that the kind of sign up and onboarding journey is fairly simple. But if people listening to this try and get on and find themselves getting a bit stuck, then let us know and we can kind of help them through the stages that are required.
Well, we'll put all the links in every website
definitely.
and all social media.
That's so cool.
So do you run it alongside the sort of in the summertime with the, obviously summertime isn't when the Premier League's on, well, partly is, but what is there a specific months you run it if it's 14 weeks?
So we run it 50 weeks a year. The only 2 weeks we shut down is Christmas and New Year, because again, I'd imagine losing weight and watching your eating and drinking is probably the last thing that people want to do Christmas and New Year. We run every other week other than that. So
right, I misunderstood
quite literally through rain and shine. So.
I love that. Oh, that is absolutely fantastic. So, what made you get into working with Manby Fat?
So I think, as I mentioned earlier on, I'd worked in pro football for a long, long time, and partly through circumstance with having met my now wife, and partly just, I think you kind of reach a stage in your career. I think I was either had just turned 40 or was about to turn 40. I'm like, well, what do I want to do and where do I want to go? And kind of, one of my friends worked for Thrive Tribe, the parent company, and did some bits with Manby Fat, and they had this marketing role come up, and you're just looking for that opportunity that kind of, I don't know, sits right with the way you want to work and your values.
That was a blessing, wasn't it? I mean, football, which you had experience and marketing, so it's almost like the perfect role.
And I've loved it, kind of taking that punt to kind of leave my comfort zone, I guess, after so long in one place.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be happier with where I am now, and stories like the two we mentioned just there in terms of the baby and the donation of the kidney, kind of a good reason for being it.
Yeah.
There's clearly a business edge to it and a commercial edge to make sure that Manby Fat can grow and be sustainable, but those good news stories that run alongside it make it much easier to get up on a Monday morning and be part of it.
I imagine. When did you start? Was it Colchester, wasn't it? You were there for 18 years. So how old were you when you started there? I was just trying to get an idea of...
So I was 20, nearly 21? 23, so 2 years after uni. So I worked for Football 365, the website, when I first left uni as a kind of just a staff writer. And then obviously the opportunity at Colchester came up, and kind of joined them at their old stadium. And obviously when they got up as high as the Championship, was part of the team that kind of helped the transition to the new stadium where they're at now.
Yeah, that was quite a big leap then, actually, because you'd helped the business drive forward, help the football club, and then you decided to leave. That's a big change. I know it's like football and marketing, but it's quite it's a very new challenge.
Definitely, and I think on reflection, and there's probably several others who are in my peer group at other football clubs at the same time. I think it becomes clear that football is something of a young man's game, on and off the pitch. A lot of people, once they get family responsibilities and stuff, even kind of the backroom staff, ticket office, administration, kind of the media teams. As I say, it's an all-consuming job because you're working Saturdays, you're working away from home on a Tuesday night for midweek fixtures. Yeah. You're working 4 or 5 games over Christmas. You're working 3 or 4 games over Easter. You've got to have a very understanding family to be able to continue to do that as your family grows, because you are working so many hours, I guess.
Yeah, people don't see that with football. I know we're not on about sort of, championship. We're like, they were talking about, Premiership players earning. Not all of them do, I appreciate. But they still, even the ones that don't get any appearances, still might be earning 10, 20, 30 grand a week, which is obscene.
Yeah.
The top players are earning £250,000 a week, which that's another conversation altogether. But what they don't see is actually the footballers don't get a whole lot of time off, do they? Christmas, they have to work over Christmas. They're very little. If they play international football, like in the Euros recently, they get very little time away in between and when the season starts, do they? It's not a £200,000 a week job. Don't get me wrong. That's a flipping nurse who's slogging her guts out. But it is a lot harder actually than what it comes across as being just kicking a football around.
Yeah, it's not just on the pitch as the training, and it's very restrictive, I imagine, as well. Like what you can eat, where you can go, what you can do.
Well, it's not like it used to be back when I was really into football in sort of the 80s, 90s when Paul Merson and, Tony Adams was at the back and they would have a pint and a cigarette at half time or something. It's, and they were achieving greatness even then, which is just crazy. Things have changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
And they were earning a lot less as well. But
So, jumping back to you, Matt, I mean, obviously you said at the beginning about you've obviously got a 20-month-old. And we touched on kind of Mantonato. I mean, aside from kind of Man v Fat, how have you found that? Obviously, as a new dad, obviously kind of with your career and everything like that. How have you found that as we speak a lot about being a dad on the show and everything like that.
Joe?
Yeah.
Were you talking about this?
Yeah.
Are you on fucking something else that I don't know about?
It is a show.
Since when do we call this a show?
Well, it is a show, isn't it?
No?
Well, I mean, it's a podcast, but it's just a show.
No, it makes me feel weird.
Does it?
Show, yeah.
Oh.
It's like what's he called? Like a chat show host, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you do look a bit like Trisha Goddard. Do so.
Are you Vanessa fans?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, we obviously speak a lot about that on the show. And, I mean, how have you found it? My last kid was he's like 12 now, so I've kind of forgotten, because you do forget. I'll warn you that now, before you decide to have another one. You do forget. So how's it been for you?
Yeah, sorry to jump just really quickly, just to jump in, just on what Matt was saying earlier. I'm obviously being 20 months old and what you said there. Like mine, fair enough. Mine are 18 and 22 now, so there was no social media when mine were younger.
No.
And obviously, even when Max was sort of a baby, it was still relatively sort of a small thing, wasn't it? Even then. So obviously, it's complete. Your experience of having a child is completely different to mine. So sorry I just needed to add that in.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's right. And people make their own decisions, but we made a very conscious decision not to put our daughter on social media because, again, you just don't know what's out there. But I understand. I might want to, but we decided that we'd only share pictures and stuff with family members and so on. And I guess going back to your original question, I was in my early 40s when I became a dad, and kind of prior to meeting my wife, I was like, I'm desperate. It's not the right word, but I was always very keen to become a dad at some stage in my life. It's kind of, I feel like I've achieved something that I've wanted for a long time, and actually potentially being that little bit older, I've been in a position where I've got a little bit more life experience under my belt to help me become I hope a good dad. You'd have to ask my wife that one, but I think I'm doing okay so far. And feel like I've had that benefit of a lot of life under my belt before I kind of got to that stage, and stage in my career where financially I'm able to provide for the household in the manner that we want to as well. And it's been incredible. Like I think even now, nearly 2 years in, I still kind of pinch myself, go, Martha's part of me, and I'm enjoying that responsibility of helping bring her up.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's very deep, wasn't it? Considering where we've been.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm like that with my kids now. Like I hang out with both my boys, and you're like sitting down in the pub having a pint. Oh, you're around. And half go, no, I'm not buying you a pint. I'm like, look, I bought the last, and no, but it's that, and you're looking at him, and you're like, oh shit, there's part of me in there.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. You've never liked buying pints.
Let's not go there. But yeah, it's so weird. Then the mannerisms that they come out with, and you're like, that's just like me. Literally, like it's almost like mirrored what I've done or I do. So I obviously know your kids, and some of the stuff your kids do and say is so much like you.
Yeah. Oh, and girls are much different than boys, like without a doubt. And it's so bizarre. I'm fortunate enough. I've got 2 girls and a boy, and I thought the girls were obviously amazing. They very much started off as kind of mummy's girls, and then they become kind of daddy's girls. Although Grace is a bit of a kind of mix.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas my son, very much a mummy's boy. It's weird how it goes like that, isn't it? Like I think, and it's so different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and there's just new things, like Max's voice has just started to get deeper and stuff like that.
Yeah, Alfie's all of a sudden just dropped. And it wasn't until people said, Christ, is that Alfie on the phone? I'm like, oh yeah, shit, he sounded like a hard phone the other day. All right. And it was a new number. I'm like my business. I'm like, whoever I am, Hello? He's like, all right. I'm like, who? Hello, who's this? And he said something, I couldn't hear it. And I was like, who is it? He goes, it's Harvey. I'm like, sorry, mate, I just didn't recognise his tone of voice was just sounded like a proper man.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like a man now.
You've got quite a high pitched voice, haven't you?
Have I?
Yeah. So it is a bit different. But
thanks, mate.
Any noticeable? I mean, there are moments, aren't there, during when you're first having a baby. As I said, we were chatting with Gordon. And of course, if you don't want to talk about any of this, you can just.
So should we fill in the gaps about Gordon and Mantonatal? Because we sort of mentioned it a couple of times, haven't we?
Go on, then.
So Mantonatal, just to help people out here, not obviously not
that.
Okay, well, do you want to explain?
No, you go on.
No, you go on.
Well, I tell you what, you know all about Mantonatal. Mantonatal.
Don't drop Matt in it.
Mantonatal aims to provide. Why am I saying aims? Does provide. Almost like a bit of an insight, I guess, into the man's role in pregnancy.
Antenatal for men?
Effectively, isn't it? Antenatal classes, per se, for men. It sounded like I said per se, but I said per se.
Per se?
For men. And it's funny, we were actually talking to Gordon about you the other day, Matt, when we said we didn't even know it was a thing that was needed. It never crossed our mind until you brought it up.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. And you think all of a sudden, crikey, like, yeah, I could have really needed some help. And I know.
And it's exactly the same with the football thing, though.
Yes, it is.
With the losing weight, you think that you've got like Slimming World, what's the other big one? And it's all very female.
There's a pun there somewhere.
It's all very female, sort of light and airy driven. There's no sort of matter, and it's exactly the same thing. I know I completely interrupted you. Weight Watchers.
Yeah,
they all work and they're all brilliant and blah blah blah. There's nothing that. Well, but obviously, they're a big business, so it must work.
That's another podcast episode.
I didn't realise that something like this would be so successful.
No, but it makes sense because chaps like football. Most chaps like. I tell you what, we haven't touched on this rugby and soccer ball stuff you were saying at the beginning, I need to know what.
It's all right, no, I'm fine.
So rugby, I mean, where does it end? Rugby,
Basketball,
soccer, basketball, hockey, horse riding,
darts, gymnastics, shooting, all the Olympic sports are there.
Darts actually is probably quite a good one.
Well, what do you have to run up to the hockey and like throw it and run back?
No, no, but I'm just thinking of the classic lads kind of
back in the 80s when they'd have a pint and a cigarette burning as they're on TV. Jockey Wilson. And
there's not a lot in it apart from you're gonna have all these blokes with really like solid arms, aren't you? Like there's not a massive amount in it.
No. So the rugby, was that just a natural thing?
Is that your idea, Matt, or?
Just something that came out of the team's discussions, yeah, because I think kind of, as I mentioned to you before, we've got 150 Manview football clubs up and down the country, and at some point, you're going to start to hit a bit of a saturation point in terms of the places you can go and the communities that are out there. And rugby was always one you kind of get an email coming into the team inbox. It's like, oh, when you're going to try rugby, when you're going to do this sport. And an interesting one, because obviously rugby guys potentially, certainly in certain positions on the pitch, are going to be bigger guys anyway. But equally, I think perhaps when they stop playing, they put on additional timber that they don't want to have. So I think,
and it's not necessarily fat either, is it? Like with big rugby lads, it's not necessarily. It's normally kind of frame and muscle. Is it? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I am fat, but I don't really know too much. But rugby players not necessarily. They don't necessarily need to be fat, do they? Like that's what I'm trying to say. I know I'm not explaining it rubbishly, but yeah, does that make sense?
No.
And I think, what we're hoping is that what makes Manview Fat football successful is community and friendship and, those peer support. I mean, if you're looking for a sport that has that in bucket loads, that's got to be rugby, right? So in terms of
100%.
you play rugby together, that camaraderie and that team spirit and whatever else is kind of such a fundamental part of the game. So we're hoping that the virtues of our programme translate quite well into that as a sport.
Yeah. Well, it's easy for you as a business to take the model you've got and put it over. It's it's a no-brainer. Really.
You could do running as well, couldn't you?
Say again, sorry.
Running,
yeah. And a lot of our guys do that. We've got people who now do park run every weekend. We've got people who do half marathons, even ultra marathons for the most extreme examples of guys within our community. And it, kind of going back to what we do, I guess we act as a bit of a gateway back into some form of sports participation for guys who, they're dragging themselves off the sofa and kind of getting involved in stuff. So, yeah, the world's our oyster. We've got to pace it at the right time and do the right sports at the right time and the right territories at the right time. But there's no shortage of guys that are looking to improve their health and lose some weight. We just need to give them the method to do that, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I love that. And I suppose if, we know as blokes that sometimes we can be a little bit apprehensive about stuff like this. If anyone was kind of watching this now and thinking, do you know what, I'd love to do that, but maybe I don't really do well mixing. Maybe I feel a bit depressed, a bit anxious. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say that a significant proportion of our existing community have felt exactly the same when they first got started. We've definitely heard of stories of guys literally having to be driven to their first night and pushed through the door by their wife or partner to make sure they don't leg it and go down McDonald's instead. So, and for me, as the guy in charge of the messaging and the marketing around the programme, it's a real interesting balance because we're lucky that Manview Fat as a brand, similar to you guys on your podcast, we can pretty much say what we want and how we want to say it. We're not beholden by certain brand messages. Like we set that tone from the top to say that Manview Fat is your mate down the pub that would talk about football and be quite brash and and quite upfront, but underlying that, and as you say, guys will be anxious about it. They'll be feeling vulnerable because potentially it's the first time they've admitted they need to lose weight or do something about their well-being. They're putting themselves in a situation where they could be going into a club where there's 50 or 60 guys who've known each other for a little while and you're the new kid at school as such.
It's
But as I
hard.
say, most of the guys in the club have been in that position at some point in their time with us. Most people joined on their own. I would like to think that most, if not all, of our communities would be very, very welcoming to a new starter and kind of help people settle in.
What about like if someone thought that they, that there's enough interest in their community to kind of open a location? Is that something that you accept almost not applications for, but almost like if someone said, look, I've got, there's like 10 of us or 15 of us and we reckon we can get more and we know a great place to do it and can we have one in our location? Is that something you openly engage
sure. We're
with?
always looking for new locations to go to. I mean, it's all kind of, every club that we run is under our own auspices rather than being franchised out to somebody as such. But as you say, if there's 15, 20 guys in a town or city and we're not currently there, and there's a facility available, then of course we'd look at that. Kind of the football@manveryfat.com inbox is always kind of getting requests in from guys, I guess. And I think it probably hits on a wider point or a wider obstacle for ourselves as an organisation, is that probably across the UK we need more sports facility provision. I think chatting to someone recently and they said, if you were the new government coming into power, what would be one of the first things you'd do in terms of male weight loss and support? And actually that facility development is probably the biggest thing. There's some great organisations like the Football Foundation and so on that are putting money into new facilities, but in a really positive sense, I guess, for the country, is that the ones that are out there are always fully booked up. So obviously a lot of people are participating in sport, but for the likes of ourselves as an organisation, we need more places to be able to put the sessions on. So hopefully that kind of continues to happen in the future.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Back to the football. Do you support Colchester?
I do, yeah. So
you do?
Yeah, I say unfortunately, given the way the seasons have gone. But I was a fan probably from 11, 12 years old, and then I obviously started working from in my
That's 20s. So cool.
Yeah,
being really a fan. Oh my God! And then getting to work in the club would be absolutely amazing. So I got into Tottenham because my dad supported Arsenal.
Right.
His dad. Sorry, my dad supported Tottenham. His dad supported Arsenal. Sorry. And he wanted to go against the grain of his dad. It's a shame that it wasn't the other way around, so we might have seen a few more trophies if it was Arsenal. But that would be amazing as a boy to support a club like that, and then you get to work. That you must have, that must have been I'm a little bit speechless because I know how, I don't know, but I like the feeling that must have been amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. Albeit, for a lot of fans, if your team gets bashed on a Saturday, when you go to work on a Monday morning, you can go and do your job and forget about football till the next Saturday. Whereas I had to go in on the Monday morning and try and tell the story to encourage fans to come to the next game, which is sometimes a bit challenging. But yeah, there was certainly more positives than negatives. And
so I imagine you got to meet the players as well. Was that?
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
Worked with them quite closely. So obviously I was looking after the media side of things. I'd work with the lads and the managers quite closely, and would like to think I can count on several of them as my friends even now after kind of having left the club and so on. And without wanting to magnify what I did or who I was, I'd like to think I kind of could be the fans' voice on the inside of the club a little bit as well. So decisions were being made about ticketing or allocations for cup games or various things relating to things that have impacts on the fans. I'd like to almost feel I could provide that voice, but in a professional context, I suppose.
Yeah. So has it helped? Has it helped Man versus Fat? Obviously,
that's weird. I was just about to ask you that same question.
To see if whether you've got Colchester involved. Is it giving you like an advantage of people within the inside to help grow Man versus Fat?
I think so. Yeah, there's still definitely people from my network at that time that I've been able to lean on for various things for sure. I always say to my team at work at the moment, I never feel like a conversation's wasted, because whether it might be 6 months or 6 years down the line, if you have positive conversations with people, you can always pick up the phone and kind of get in touch with them about things again. So yeah, I've definitely kind of the extent of the network and the friendship groups that I built during my time in football, it's definitely proven helpful in this first 5 years with Man v Fat as well.
Yeah. Didn't Tottenham play Colchester in the FA Cup? And did we lose? Or did we just beat you?
No, the League Cup when we beat you on penalties. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember. That was. Anyway, I've had enough of this chat. Thank you very much. See, as I remember,
win, do they?
It's a bit shit. As soon as I brought that up, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that was a great result.
No. Where are Colchester then? Because I know nothing about football, by the way. I'm like a complete, I'm not anti-football. I was never brought up around it, and so I've never been kind of involved. I watch the World Cup and the Euros and stuff like that, and I like to get involved. But I don't. I mean, not you. I can see you guys are really balls deep into football. You're really
love it. Yeah,
you literally love it. It's like your life almost.
Yeah, it's always been a big part of my life.
Do you cry when your team loses?
No, I'd cry if it was like a final. Not that that's happened very often.
No.
But yeah, do you know what? I cried when Mauricio Pochettino left Tottenham.
Yeah,
that upset me.
Matt's crying.
Yeah,
now.
Matt's crying now. It's all right. He's okay.
Flashback. So I know we're running out of time, Matt.
No, you asked Matt a question about where Colchester was.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he might like to answer.
No, go on then, Matthew.
Matthew,
I need to speak about Matthew in a minute, but sorry, you go first.
They're in League Two, so
that's quite a way down, isn't it? So you've got Premiership, League One, then League Two.
Don't say that. That's offensive.
Is that like? There's no more leagues under that, is there?
Not in the Football League, no. After that, it goes into the non-league structure, yeah. So,
and do you risk relegation, or are you near the top?
So the last 3 or 4 seasons, they've been down the bottom. So I'd like to say they've been really bad since I left. So obviously I was doing something right when I was there.
This is what I was going to say. Have they dropped down the league since you've left?
They have, yeah. So, I'll take that accidental reflected glory in that sense.
Yeah, no, actually, I keep saying Matthew. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's a little, there's like a little meme online, not a meme, like a little TikTok video or something online. He's so brilliant, but I can't think of the name Matthew the same way anymore. As a little boy, I don't know if you've seen him. There's a little boy laying on his bed, and he's got a pet moth, and his mum says to him, "What are you going to call your pet moth?" And he goes,
"Have you seen this?"
Yeah.
And he goes,
"Oh, for fuck's sake!"
He goes, "Moth-you," and it's just brilliant, isn't it? I love it when I see it. Watch it comes around every now and then, but whenever I say Matthew now, I think Moth-you because it's just genius, isn't it? For a moth, if you had a pet moth,
and you called it Moth-you.
I mean, you wouldn't want to call it Luke or something like that. That's silly.
Moth-you.
But Moth-you is a really good name.
I saw a sausage dog out the other day, and his name was Roger.
Yeah,
and I thought that was the best name for a dachshund.
That is.
She goes, "Roger, stop doing that."
I love names that don't really fit. It's a bit like you and Dave, isn't it? Because you're not really a Dave.
No, I don't.
More like a kind of Ollie Murs from Temu.
Thanks very much.
It's
something we were talking about with names. Dogs' names. Me and my girlfriend, after we met Roger, we were saying you get there's a Brian up the road. There's a long-legged Brian.
What dog?
You get a Gary. I've met loads, but you don't have girls' names. There's Elaine there, or there's Rose. There's no female
dogs' names. Well, there are, aren't there? Like Pepper.
Okay, there's one.
Jane Marie. No, I don't know. I don't know any.
No, exactly. That's what I thought.
What are girl dogs called then?
My mum's dog's called Lily. Yeah, Bonnie, Lily, Clara. My mum's. But there's no
Vicky or
there's Stephanie there.
Oh, it's Gloria.
Yeah.
Well, I feel. Oh God. See, I feel like I now need to go and buy a dog and call it a silly name.
I'm sure your wife would be over the moon. She actually would be over the moon.
She actually would be, yeah.
And then walked in and said, "Oh, here's Josephine."
Yeah, we can get a dog, but we have to call her Gloria.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. That is a weird one.
Yeah.
Moth-you. Before we go,
yes.
I've got a question to ask you, and we haven't told you about it. And you're probably now petrified because everyone always is. But we ask
leant forward like this is ready.
Every single guest that we speak to. What is your definition of love?
Great question. That's in the nicest sense we've gone deep, but this is probably the deepest yet, isn't it?
The gold days, all right.
Yeah. It's 45
Thought
minutes
if it's any consolation, when we asked Gordon the other day, it paused every so often because he was in Saudi Arabia. And I thought the screen had paused. I thought it frozen, but it was just him, like...
Also known as Dubai.
I was in Dubai. I thought it was Saudi Arabia.
No.
Because I said Saudi Arabia on the podcast.
But it's Dubai. He's in Dubai. He said Dubai.
Oh, did he? I thought... Because I said Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Anyway, we've given...
He's had plenty of time.
Give me some thinking time there about making myself look stupid. Yeah.
So,
something that makes you smile when you get up in the morning.
I like that. Wow. See, the reason I asked that, and listeners that listen to us every week, which is probably not anyone.
We know.
We know, Steve. Shut up. I had a bit of a discovery moment. Actually, if you get a chance, our very first episode's called Love. And a bit of a kind of eye-opening moment for me was I'm in therapy, and I spoke to my therapist about my definition of love, and he told me his, which was completely different. And then I asked Dave, completely different, and I just got obsessed with asking people. And not only was it good for me, but I found it was good for them. And then, of course, I asked my wife, because I realised I just assumed that when I spoke to my therapist about love, we would be talking about the same thing. So when he said something completely different to me, I thought, Christ, like, what if my wife has got a completely different, kind of expectation of love than I have? And I asked her, and she bloody did. And it was just crazy that, mine was very much like, I wanted to be desired and all this kind of stuff. And she was, kind of someone to help around the house and to accept her for her shortcomings and things like that. Of course, they're completely two different things.
Of course.
And, I'd strongly suggest, although it comes with absolutely no warranty whatsoever, have that conversation with Mrs. Mothew.
Yeah, you should.
And and
you should ask your wife. I asked my girlfriend. It sort of was like, she was like, oh,
yeah.
It's a because like we said to Gordon, you say it to your mates, you say it to your mum, you say it to your partner, whatever. Oh, I love you, but you didn't until you sort of like really think about it. What you're actually saying.
Yeah, because you're basically saying what do you want from this relationship?
Yeah,
and if you're both assuming that you're wanting the same thing, one, you may not be getting it because they didn't think love was that, and vice versa. So anyway, that's amazing. So get up and someone that makes you smile when you get up in the morning. Yeah. I like that a lot. Mothew, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm never going to call you Matthew again. I'm always going to be Mothew from ever now on. I can't even talk. We're going to put all the links in the posts, and obviously make sure that everyone knows about Man v Fat. And really love talking with you. I think we should chat again in the future once the rugby and everything's up and running. And it'd be great maybe to speak to some of your success stories and. I don't want to call them failures, but you know what I mean? Maybe people that have been a bit unsure and stuff like that. It'd be good to maybe have a chat with them in the future.
For sure, we can make that happen.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mothew.
Cheers.
Cheers.